The conversation about who the best striker of the outgoing generation is will continue to go on. But if it were open to public votes, the man very likely to win is Luis Suarez. In his prime, no centre-forward could do what he did. I mean, we're talking about a guy who won the European Golden Shoe twice in the peak of the Messi-Ronaldo era. He was so special. But while Suarez might be the best striker of his generation, he's also up there as one of the most controversial figures of his time. The many controversies that plagued him should have ruined him and destroyed his career. But his talent and determination outweigh his idiosyncrasies, and that turned him into a world beater. This is the story of how a cannibal became the best striker in the world. His story started in Salto, Uruguay, where he was born. He started playing football as a child for a local club named Sportivo Artegas de Salto. But while he was still a kid, something tragic happened to him that should have killed every hope of ever becoming a professional footballer. We'll tell you about that later. But first, when he was 7 years old, he and his family moved to Montevideo, and when he got there, he started to play football with Ureta. When he was 14 years old, Suarez moved to Nacional, one of the biggest clubs in Uruguay. But years before then, something crazy happened to this little boy when his foot was run over by a car and it broke his 5th metatarsal bone. This tragedy should have effectively put an end to any hopes of him going on to become a professional footballer, because what's a footballer without a fully functioning foot? But little Luis kept going, determined to turn his passion into his profession. And, well, this determination would become the theme of his entire career. But did you know that he was only discovered by mistake? It's a crazy story, and we'll get to it in a second. Anyway, just 2 years into his Nacional career, Suarez showed us something else that would become the theme of his footballing career. When he was just 16 years old, Suarez headbutted a referee after he was sent off, showing at a very young age that he had a short fuse. Not long after that, he was caught drinking and partying, and his coach threatened not to ever play him again unless he began to take football seriously. This was probably the point Suarez decided to lock in and focus on developing himself. 2 years later, at the age of 18, he made his senior team debut and was able to help the club win the Uruguayan League with 10 goals in 27 appearances. Now, during this season, scouts from Europe came to Uruguay to check out a different player, but when they saw Suarez play, their minds were blown. They watched just one game of his, and they were convinced he was going to be a superstar. So they approached him and told him they wanted to buy him. So yeah, you could say he was discovered by mistake. Suarez didn't even think twice about their offer. He said an instant yes to moving to Europe. Apart from the fact that he knew it would do a great deal for his career. As it appeared, these scouts were from Groningen in the Netherlands, and they quickly reached an agreement to buy Suarez for 800,000 euros. Best 800k they ever spent, trust us. But it didn't appear so at the beginning. Suarez struggled so much after he first moved to the Netherlands, mainly because of the language barrier. He was unable to find the back of the net in his first 2 months at the club. But luckily, there was a Uruguayan in the Groningen squad, Bruno Silva, and he helped Suarez settle in. But the striker himself put a lot of effort into learning Dutch quickly, and his teammates and fans were very impressed. But what they weren't impressed by was his disciplinary record. He scored goals, yes, but he was also something of a menace. He finished with 10 goals and 7 assists in 29 league appearances and proved early to be a big game player, scoring 2 against Ajax and 4 against Vitesse. He even scored on his European debut. But there was a problem. He was cautioned a lot, too many times for a striker. There was a period in January 2007 when Suarez scored 4 goals in 5 games, but during that period he received 3 yellow cards. He ended that season with 9 yellow cards in all competitions. It was a big issue, but Ajax didn't care. His 1 season at Groningen was enough to convince them that this was the player they needed, so they paid 7.5 million euros for him. Now playing for a much bigger club, Suarez knew that he had to do more to impress, and he was ready for the challenge. He scored on his league debut for the club, and then went on to score 2 on his home debut. He also added versatility to his game. He'd previously been an out-and-out striker, but in his first season at Ajax, he played everywhere across the front line. He played more games on the wing than he played as a centre forward, but wherever he played, he was heavily involved. He ended that season with 36 goal contributions in 44 appearances, helping Ajax finish second in the Eredivisie table. But there were still concerns about his behaviour, and it was noted by then-coach Marco van Basten, who publicly commented that he was upset about how many cautions the Uruguayan received. In his first season at Ajax, he received 8 yellow cards. In his second, he took that number up to 12. This was the 2008-2009 season, when Suarez fought back with his teammate over a free kick. But guess what? That same season, he was named Ajax Player of the Season and was just 1 goal away from winning the Eredivisie Golden Boot. Such has been the duality of Suarez's career. Brilliant, but controversial. But that phrase, brilliant but controversial, was most evident during Suarez's 3rd and 4th seasons at Ajax. We'll tell you all that happened in a second, but if you've been enjoying the video so far, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel to show your support. So, Suarez's 3rd season at Ajax was an all-timer for many different reasons. First, Thomas Vermaelen left, so he was named captain, and with all that responsibility on his shoulders, he upped his game even more. Despite playing most games on the right wing, Suarez won the Golden Boot that season after scoring 35 goals in 33 appearances, which helped Ajax clinch the title. In addition to the Golden Boot, Suarez won the Dutch Footballer of the Year, Ajax Player of the Year, and the IFFHS World's Best Top Division Goal Scorer awards. That season, he scored 4 league hat-tricks, 2 of them being 4-goal hauls. Then in the Cup, he scored 6 in one game, helping Ajax secure a club record 14-1 victory in the knockout rounds. Suarez had already become one of the scariest attackers in Europe. He scored 49 goals in 48 appearances in all competitions that season, and still managed 24 assists. But his disciplinary record was still bad, as he saw 12 yellow cards too. But provided he was scoring at that rate, it was no problem, right? Wrong. In the 2010-11 season, Suarez continued being his brilliant self, but that campaign was marred by a huge controversy. You see, that was the season he reached 100 goals for Ajax, entering an elite group of legends that featured Cruyff, Bergkamp and Van Basten. But in November 2010, he did something out of the ordinary. In a huge game against PSV, Suarez bit Othman Bakal on the shoulder, and it was so crazy to see. It was the talk of the entire country for days, and that led a Dutch newspaper to name him the Cannibal of Ajax. Ajax slapped him with a 2-game ban, but the league increased it to 7. For Ajax, that was the last straw. They could no longer deal with this player. There were no doubts about his quality, but he just came with too much baggage, and they were done with it. So they put him on the market. And they wasted no time to offload him. The biting incident happened in November, and by January, Ajax had already sold him to Liverpool, which meant that the PSV game was his last in an Ajax shirt. One would have thought that this would have taught Suarez a lesson, but he hadn't learned a thing. You'll see why we say that soon. Liverpool took the risk on him because of how talented he was, and he started to make an instant impact. He scored on his debut coming off the bench and went on to score 4 and assist 5 in 13 Premier League appearances, helping Liverpool go from 12th to 6th in the table. At Liverpool, Suarez went back to being an out-and-out striker, and in the 2012-13 season, he finished with 37 goal contributions in 44 appearances. He also continued to prove that he was a big game player, scoring 1 against City, 1 against Spurs, 1 against Arsenal, and 2 against Chelsea. But one of those Chelsea games was marred by another huge controversy from the Uruguayan. The Cannibal was back. He bit Branislav Ivanovic, and the incident shook the entire nation. His earlier incident went under the radar because he was in a league with less coverage, but the incident in the Premier League brought the attention of the entire world. Heck, we even saw the UK Prime Minister telling the FA to not take it easy on Suarez. And they listened. The FA banned him for 10 games, which meant that his season was effectively over. Because of that incident, there was a lot of media attention on the player and his family, and that led to him requesting to leave Liverpool in the summer of 2013, but the club refused to let him leave. It was this summer that Arsenal put in that cheeky £40 million and £1 bid for him. Suarez remained at Liverpool for an extra season, and it turned out to be a campaign for the books. Because of his suspension after biting Ivanovic the previous season, Suarez missed the first 5 games of the 2013-14 season, but when he returned, he was on fire. He scored 6 goals and provided 1 assist in his first 4 games of the season. He would then go on to have the greatest month in Premier League history when he scored 12 goals and provided 4 assists in December 2013 alone. It was insane. At this point, Suarez had also grown to become one of the leaders in the squad, captaining Liverpool in 5 straight Premier League games. That season, he scored 31 goals and provided 13 assists in 33 Premier League appearances, helping Liverpool finish second in the Premier League. His goals won him the Premier League Golden Boot, equaling the record for most Premier League goals in a 38-game season at the time, and made him the first player not named Messi or Ronaldo to win the European Golden Shoe since 2009. Suarez also won the Premier League Player of the Year and FWA Footballer of the Year awards, and became the first non-European to win the PFA Player of the Year award. It was a truly excellent season by all standards. Suarez was headed to the top, and nothing could stop him. Except himself, of course. And Suarez did try to stop himself that summer. He went to the World Cup with Uruguay, and it was a bad tournament. Not just because they weren't able to get past the round of 16, but also because he bit Giorgio Chiellini during a group stage game against Italy. This incident happening on the biggest footballing stage did a lot to ruin Suarez's reputation. He was handed a 9-game ban from international football, the longest in World Cup history, and he was given a further 4-month ban from all football-related activities. He wasn't even allowed to enter a stadium during this period. He also lost sponsorship deals because of this incident. You could say that this was rock bottom for Suarez, but Barcelona still decided to take a gamble on him. His stocks were at their lowest, but the Blaugranas invested. They didn't care that he would miss the first few months of the season due to his suspension. They still went ahead and paid €82.3 million for him that summer. Did the gamble pay off? You bet it did. He hit the ground running, scoring 4 goals and providing an assist in his first 4 games as a Barcelona player. He immediately formed a lethal attacking trio with Messi and Neymar, and together they went on to terrorize the entire continent. MSN scored 122 goals in their first season together, the most by an attacking trio in history. Individually, Suarez finished with 48 goal contributions in 43 appearances for Barcelona that season, and was very vital in helping them complete the European treble. He also finished 5th at the Ballon d'Or that year, and everyone thought he'd peaked, but he got even better the following season. In the 2015-16 season, Suarez was on fire. It was this season that he proved to be the best striker in the world and one of the best goal scorers of his generation. This guy produced 83 goal contributions in 53 appearances in all competitions that season. It was truly crazy. He scored 40 goals in La Liga, and they were enough for him to win the Pichichi as well as his second European Golden Shoe. You see, it's one thing to win the European Golden Shoe, but to do it twice in the Messi-Ronaldo era is extra impressive. Nobody else was able to do this even once. Suarez ended up spending 6 years at Barcelona, and during this period he produced 308 goal contributions in 283 appearances for the club. He came in as a disgraced cannibal, but left as a club legend, sitting 3rd in the club's all-time top scorers chart. At the time he left Barcelona, everyone said he was finished. They called him fat and slow, but he went on to Atletico Madrid, scored 21 goals in 32 La Liga appearances, and helped them win La Liga for the first time in 7 years. It's not hard to see that Suarez is a special player. He's one of the most technical and complete strikers in football history. In his prime, he could dribble, create, play set pieces, produce acrobatic finishes, and if you just want to be entertained, he could give you that as well. And oh, he's a true winner too. He always has that hunger and desire to win every single game he plays, and one could argue that it was his desire to win that often got him into trouble. It was why he did what he did at the 2010 World Cup, stopping the ball from going over the finish line with his hand in the quarter-final clash against Ghana. He was sent off and was branded a villain, but he quickly turned into a national hero as Ghana missed the resulting penalty, and Uruguay went on to win the game on penalties. And when you look at his entire international career, one word for it would be heroic. He led them to Copa America success in 2011 and was even named the best player of the tournament. He also retired as the country's all-time top scorer. It's a truly impressive career all around, however you look at it. With most players of his status, it's usually just a tale of goals and accolades, but Suarez's story is a lot more complicated than that. In the books of some, he's a legend and a hero, but for others he's the biggest villain of all. So, tell us, who is Luis Suarez in your books? A hero or a villain? And if you want to know how MSN became the greatest attacking trio in history, click this video and we'll tell you the entire story.